Good evening, Britannia, and hello to the rest of the world. Welcome to 2CTV with some breaking news from the 2024 UK general election. It's all kicking off. The whole system is receiving a bit of a shock from Nigel Farage and Reform UK, despite their efforts. The media, the left-wing activists, the mainstream political parties, the whole of the establishment, all the attacks on Nigel Farage, all the attacks on Reform UK candidates and the whole party in general, they continue to go up in the polls, and they continue to be consistently, in a way, defeating the Tories. Now, the expectations were, until now, when Nigel came back, when they relaunched Reform UK basically, was if they managed to get one seat, Nigel's seat, maybe two with Lee Anderson, that's the beginning of the revolution. Then the expectation became, well, if we could get about 3-4 million votes, because UKIP got about 4 or 5, that's a win. Then they said, well, if they could manage to get close to the Tory party and become essentially just below the Tory party by 2 or 3 points, then that is a good start. It's a new party, it's fresh, and of course a lot of problems, but it will be a good start. But now, ladies and gentlemen, watching this live, and of course those who are not watching it live afterwards, we are getting excited. Look at this. The latest opinion poll, and again, this is just the average of all the polls coming in as well. There's the last few polls have been saying the same thing. Whitestone Insights saying that Reform UK are now consistently leading by 3 points. They are now to 21% and the Tories 18%. The Tories are continuing to go down. They've lost 1 extra point. Reform UK have gained extra point. The Labour Party is also coming down slowly. 1 point down, they're now 38%. Lib Dems, of course, continue to be about between 10 to 15%, but you can say because the Liberal Democrats' vote and support is spreading around the country in an equal way in constituencies, they will be getting a lot of seats compared to, of course, Reform UK. And because the Reform UK support is concentrated in certain areas rather than equally spreading around the country like the Liberal Democrats. That's how first past the post works. But that's not really the big win. It's also because of the projections when it comes to the number of seats, potential number of seats. As we said, 1 or 2 seats would have been a big win. Then they said 5 seats. Then it came out that 18 seats for Reform UK is possible theoretically. It's all going to be so close, the margin of error. It could be up to 18 seats, and this was basically the Tories on 60 seats and Lib Dems 71. But then there's another one that just came out as well. This is even more interesting. Reform UK on 12 seats, but the Tories have gone down massively to 18 seats. The Tories losing 347 seats. The Lib Dems on 94, of course, the opposition, and the Labour Party up as well. Now, the SNP doesn't count because the SNP only focuses on Scotland. 12 seats, 18 seats. And of course, this is just the beginning. And as you guys are all familiar with the previous elections in this country, in the UK, there used to be a factor that we called it the shy Tory voters. And now we have shy Reform voters. So potentially speaking, Reform UK's vote could be a little bit higher, but because people are too shy and awkward about it, they wouldn't want to shout about it yet. At the same time, Reform UK, if they mess it up over the next few days, they could lose. A lot of the people who are saying we'll vote Reform, you never know. They might stay at home. They might somehow go back to the Tories. I know it's unlikely, but you never know. So anything could happen. Now, Nigel Farage also came out to address the issue of Andrew Parker, the fake Reform UK activist who just appeared out of nowhere, and we discovered he's a paid actor, and he was using a fake rough accent, and he denied being an actor. Then he said, oh yes, I am an actor. And then Channel 4 said, oh, we don't know who he is. It was a little bit weird. Obviously, Nigel's made a video response for us about that. And of course, also responding to the success of Reform UK. Let's go to Nigel.
6 days to go until the general election. Boy, we are doing well. How do I know? The level of attacks. To begin, they've dug out a statement from me 10 years ago saying I thought there'd be a war in Ukraine, that we'd made some terrible errors of expanding NATO and the European Union. Well, I was right. They were all wrong. But funny, isn't it? That now gets conflated into I support President Putin, which I never have. I've always thought he's a very, very bad and dangerous person. That was the beginning. That was the beginning of the real pushback against the Reform UK vote, against the momentum that is happening out there in the country. Oh, by the way, I was opposed to the Iraq War, which finished up killing hundreds of thousands of civilians. I was opposed to the Libyan War, which led to the creation of ISIS and the boats crossing the Mediterranean, some of those people now coming across the English Channel. The establishment always fight against me because you know what? I get it right a lot more than they do. And now we get the most incredible saga over the last 24 hours. A so-called Reform UK activist turns up in the Clacton office last Saturday, goes out with an undercover, apparently, Channel 4 news team and makes a series of very, very racist, derogatory remarks about Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, about people crossing the channel who he wants to shoot, about turning every mosque into a Wetherspoons. I mean, I watched this stuff. I thought, this is just so over the top. No one speaks like this. This is like an Alf Garnett comedy sketch going back 50 years. And yet, overnight, we found out that the guy is an actor. So we called him this morning. The Daily Telegraph called him this morning. He denied being an actor. After a short period of time, he admitted to other media outlets that he was an actor. And then we found his own website, where he speaks and advertises his services for adverts, for acting, whatever else it may be. And he describes himself as being very well spoken, but he has an alter ego. He can do what he calls rough talk, all right? Now, when he turned up in the office in Clacton last Saturday, I was there at the desk working. He turned up and it was proper call blimey governor, right? He was playing the alter ego. He was acting and not being himself from the moment he arrived. Then he goes out by coincidence on a canvassing team with an undercover reporter from Channel 4. We've also discovered over the course of the day that on another website, he advertises his services for doing undercover filming. I mean, you literally, this is like Netflix. You literally couldn't make this up. Now, we went back to Channel 4, questioned who this guy was, the veracity of what he was saying and in what role he was positioning himself. And Channel 4, interestingly, denied that he was an actor. And yet, we've now found out he's done acting parts in the past for Channel 4. Can you see how the evidence is mounting up? Now, what I don't know is whether he was paid to do this or whether he volunteered to do this. That part of it, we just don't know. What I do know is that this is a stitch-up on the most astonishing scale. And think about it. An activist for a party, not a candidate who holds no position whatsoever, makes the front page of the Times newspaper. The Prime Minister responds to say how awful he feels for his two daughters about this racist remarks that were made about his family. Folks, this is the biggest stitch-up I've ever seen in my life. And I bet you there's even more we're going to find out. Even more will come out over the course of the next couple of days. Well, you know what? You only start taking flak, as they used to say in Bomber Command in World War II, when you're getting near the target, and we're getting near the target. The establishment are literally terrified of us. Terrified, not just of us breaking into Parliament and getting a bridgehead, not just terrified of me being the voice of opposition to a very weak Starmer government, which it will be, and hey, the divided Conservatives couldn't possibly provide anything like that. What they're really scared of is what I've said. Over the next 5 years, I intend to build a mass movement of millions across this country for real change. And they know that I could do it. They know that we could do it. And they're terrified because they know that would have an unstoppable momentum. Everything about British politics, the electoral system, the parties, the media is designed for nothing to change. Starmer taking over from Sunak, that's not a change of government. It's a change of management. And all the deep-seated problems that we face will continue and, in fact, probably get worse. What we're about is a strong, positive vision for this country, its future, the way we educate our kids, to give people a chance to get off benefits and go to work and be better off, to genuinely control our borders, to leave the ECHR, to stop people literally taking the mickey out of this country, to stop the population explosion that is going on through mass migration and devaluing everyone's life. We have got a radical plan to change this country for the better. And you know what? The vested interests want to stop us. All of this appalling, dishonest behaviour that I've seen against us, our people, and indeed me, makes me even more determined to succeed next Thursday. And if you can see what's there in front of you, then please join the revolt.
Well, thank you very much, Nigel Farage, for that message. And now, the interesting thing, I'm going to come to the super chat as well, and of course then the rest of the live chat as well. He did mention something about change of management. I've been saying this for a long time. We've had the exact same government since 1997. The government of this country has been the same thing. We've been under a Blairite government since 97. We've just simply had change of management every now and then, but it's the same ideology and same type of governance for this country. And it's time for a shake-up. And they're all freaking out. That's why they're coming up with all these stitch-ups and all these sting operations to bring down Nigel Farage, Reform UK and everybody else. And the more they do this, the more Reform going up in the polls. It's absolutely embarrassing, especially since the whole nonsense about Putin. People don't care. They can see the truth. Nigel already came out and addressed it like a normal human, by the way. Not like Rishi Sunak or Keir Starmer, like robotic weirdos. But they just treat people with respect and treat them like adults, not like idiots. And then you could get some votes. Super chat from Mike. Thank you, Mike, saying, oh dear, what a shame. Never mind. Moving on. And of course, our loyal regular viewer, Keith Thornton. Thank you so much, Keith, for this support. Another one says there, do you think the lefty media will damage Reform chances? I hope not, but the mainstream media is very powerful. And I'm worried that some people might believe it. No. Yeah, well, those who already didn't like Nigel Farage or Reform, they're the ones making a massive noise. So those who are showing outrage are the ones who already didn't like them anyway. It's the same thing with Donald Trump and his movement. So the people who are having a meltdown are not really those who are in the middle or supporters of Republicans saying suddenly, oh, now we're outraged. Trump just talked about playing golf, for example, with Biden, although it was Biden's fault he brought it up. Handicap 6. Laurie says, will this be another payday for Nigel? Hope so. If he sues them, maybe. Opinionated Observer, thank you for your support, saying with regards to the Channel 4 expose, sarcasm, on the apparent canvasser for Reform, what are the odds that the rest of the mainstream media will have their own expose on different people watching carefully? Well, they've already been doing that for the past few weeks. We've had a lot of these undercover stuff. The Channel 4 one became big because Channel 4, you know, they did a good undercover operation, let's just say. It seemed sexy, like they're following with the camera, right? But they've already been doing it. They found so many of the Reform UK candidates saying controversial things, left, right and centre. They continue to do it every single day. It's funny that they don't really care when Green Party activists and candidates who are a bunch of Islamists and far-left hippies, they're all saying the worst things, saying we need to plant the flag of Islam on top of Buckingham Palace. Apparently that's normal. It's not treason, apparently. But they don't mind what the Labour Party candidates are saying, what the Tory Party candidates are saying. They're not really the main targets in this election. Switch out from the Moss, thank you so much for your support. Saying you only get flack when you get close to the targets, media and the establishment on a witch hunt. Help Reform UK and send our Tommy back. Yeah, Tommy Robinson's still being held hostage. Love the work to see the shady dealings on not now coming to light. Thank you so much for the support. Crazy Pixels says left-wing YouTube channels, I think, are grabbing this with both hands. Problem is, not many people watch those channels, so it's okay. Another one says, I think this will only bode well for reform. I agree. I absolutely agree. The whole thing's been backfiring. All the polls that we showed you just now, and obviously from this one, that shows reform beating the Tories by 3%. Leading over them by 3 points, to the ones obviously showing 18 seats for reform. Even the new one that shows 12 seats, which is still impressive, 12 seats from 0 as a new party. But the Tories 18 seats. Now, this one I cannot believe is going to happen, but you never know. You absolutely don't know exactly how this is all going to play out. Joe Vlogs is back, saying keep up the exposure, Maya. Big love to Bum too. Thank you so much, Joe. Nara says, have you heard if the police have had responded to any hate crime reports? Yeah, it would be interesting to see if it's applied equally. So I could actually right now live give you guys a quick update on the situation with the police, because we have a statement that Politics UK posted from the Essex Police. Let's quickly go to Essex Police to see what they actually said in response to the hate speech stuff, the actor, the fake canvasser. Statement from Essex Police. We are aware of comments made during a Channel 4 news program, and we are urgently assessing them to establish if there are any criminal offences. I do love the bureaucracy of the establishment and the police. You know, the video has already been out, right? It's a few seconds. The moments that he makes those comments. How long do you think it takes to urgently assess them? It takes about 45 seconds. You just watch it, and if you're the police, you'll be like, yeah, this is a criminal offense, or this is not a criminal offense. The bureaucracy in this country is on a whole new level. You guys are watching this globally. Some of you are from Australia, from Canada, everywhere. And I can assure you, if you think the bureaucracy in your country is bad, come to the UK. We can't even build trains. Anyway, super chat from Joe. Thank you so much for the generous super chat. And Nina as well. So Rosy TV, from now on, vote reform. And Mike says, hate not hope. Yeah, we should call it that rather than hope not hate. Hate not hope. Will not like the play acting being exposed. And Mr. Parker should watch his back. Or he may have an accident. Well, we don't condone this sort of language, by the way, because of course, if someone does something dodgy without inciting violence, the response is not to incite violence, of course. For the record, Michael, thank you, saying reform all the way. Keep up the good work. And Jules, thank you very much for that super chat as well. And another one. Nigel on BBC tonight. Yes, Nigel will be on the BBC Question Time at 8 p.m. You don't have to watch that to suffer. I'll watch that on your behalf and give you guys a summary. Watch them get a Ukrainian. Oh, yes. To start ranting at Nigel and calling him a Putin sympathizer. I hope Nigel is prepared and ready. I would not be surprised if BBC does that. Leslie says there, please say hello to my new puppy, Harvey. Oh, hello, Harvey. I don't know if you understand English, Harvey, but hello. Subscribe to 2CTV, Harvey. Paul says, Maya, why has no one made a complaint to the police for hate speech? They have. That's why we read this statement. I'm guessing this comment was before I read the statement. They have evidence on TV. How will this guy ever get acting work after expressing these views? Maybe they know he was acting. Well, if we actually get full evidence and like legal evidence and some sort of verdict that of course he was acting, then his industry, the filming industry, they're going to give him so many jobs because they're all left wing. They're going to love it. They were like, yeah, well done. You're a new martyr now. So you could get all the jobs that you want. He's going to become famous. So for grifting. I honestly think that Reform's vote is being underestimated and likely that Labour's is being overestimated, especially with how unpopular Starmer is. Well, I agree. Again, I said, there used to be shy Tories, but now you have shy reformers. There's a number of normal chats. Let's quickly go to some of the normal chats. Phil says, mainstream media blackout about reform is backfiring. Reform for major party. I agree. Well, there's no blackout. They talk about reform all the time, but it's just 100% negative. Omnipresent says a Farage win would mean England becomes crypto dominant and he will destroy the banks and bring in the central banking, the digital currencies, but decentralized. That's not what it is. Okay, but I guess the next step is UBI. So crypto and digital currencies are very, very different things. Not just because it's central bank versus decentralized. That's not really the only difference, by the way. So many differences. But prime ministers in this country don't have that much power. So this system, unlike America, even America these days is very much centralized. So when people say the deep state, we don't necessarily mean like a bunch of lizards in a room. It's the bureaucratic deep state and then the vested interest. The prime minister in this country doesn't have the power to completely do radical reforms unless he's got the backing of the establishment, unless you fill the establishment with your own people. That's what the Liberal left did. It took him a couple of decades, 80s and 90s, and of course Tony Blair, when Blair was in power, he was able to do all those things because the people who were supporting Blairism were already inside all the establishments. When he created the Supreme Court, obviously the Bank of England and all the other institutions that existed, the BBC, they were already Blairites at that point. So when, for example, someone like Liz Truss tried to take the fight to the Bank of England or ONS, they bring it down because she doesn't have the backing. The prime ministerial power is not the same as presidential power. And even the president in the US, there will be the likes of the FBI and the Federal Reserves. They will create obstacles all the time. But the president still have technically more power than the prime minister, head of state compared to the head of government. Don't believe the polls. A reform will do better. Remember the shy Brexiteers who wouldn't answer the polls. Exactly. And Leeds says, anything negative being said about Mr. Farage and Reform UK will not put me off from voting for them, as it's all lies. And we have an interesting comment in the live chat, ladies and gentlemen. UK colonized 85% of the world. It belongs to us now. This is the Islamic person, by the way. Leave if you hate Muslims. We hate you, white people. who think you special for just being born white. Only ex-Muslims self-hate to worship you. That's not English. This is barely English, this sentence, the whole paragraph. There's no punctuation. I have no idea what's going on. All I can see is just hatred against a group of humans who didn't really have a choice. They happened to be born with a lighter skin color. And this person just hates them just because they have a lighter skin color compared to this idiot. Really? Do you really think white people had a choice to become white when they were born? You're just born. What are you going to do about it? Imagine hating someone based on their skin color in 2024. Weird people. Anyway, Marilyn says, we have a reform candidate in Redditch and we've not received any campaign literature from them. Hardly anyone knows we have a reform candidate. Well, of course, yeah, because it's very difficult, not just for Reform UK. Reform is a new party. They don't have the manpower. But the same applies to, for example, the Tory party. There are so many constituencies across the country, even in the peak happy days of the Tory party, that if you live in those areas, you don't really receive any campaign literature. You don't really get anybody knocking on your door because there's not enough manpower. It's no longer the 1950s or 60s where the Tory party, the Labour Party, all these guys had 2-3 million members. You'll be happy if you manage to get 200,000 paid up members for any of these parties. Like Labour does well these days after Corbyn. Actually, during Corbyn, they were doing well as well, but it was temporary boost because of the far left students, but they're not really sustainable. But the Labour Party, the Tories, I think they have about 100,000 members. I'm guessing most of them are now defected anyway. So it's very hard, to have enough activists for these parties across the country. Maggie says, why is the Labour Party going up, FFS? They're not. That's the whole point. The Labour is coming down. I'm not saying coming down as in not winning the election, but the percentages continues to go down every single day. And it's going straight to Reform UK. They're not going up. Nobody loves the Labour Party. The only reason the automatic vote is going to the Team Red is because a lot of people out there in the country don't watch politics. They don't watch 2CTV. They don't even know who the party leaders are. In their head, they've been told it's blue or red. You don't like blue? Go red. So that's just the automatic reaction that people have. They don't love Keir Starmer. They don't even know who Keir Starmer is. Okay. Have I missed some super chats? Oh, yes, I have. I've missed a lot of super chats. There we go. Alex, thank you, Alex, saying if this is true, this is a setup. Channel 4 should be financially punished. Just sell it off. Why do we have a nationalized TV channel for no reason? Channel 4 permanently shut down. Can't shut it down. Worried that BBC will try gotchas tonight with Nigel. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised. Listener says, Nigel is a visionary, our visionary. Go reform. And Ugly Boy says, alert, check for hate not hope tracking cookies. Okay. And Patrick, responding to the Islamist troll, saying we make up 80%. Trickle to do one. Where is the person gone? That Islamist troll. Is it? Are they? Is it? What's the pronoun? What's the right pronouns for the troll you don't know the gender of? It. We're gonna say it. Is it still around? Anyway, in about 50 minutes, BBC Question Time, we'll have Nigel Farage. Just a quick heads up. I'm just, as I'm talking to you guys, I just received a notification, a WhatsApp message from Tommy Robinson. I'm going to find out if he's received his decision in Canada, and then I'm going to bring him on to CTV hopefully tonight. He was supposed to be last night, but obviously he wasn't able to because of the police issues. If he's got the decision, we're going to bring Tommy Robinson live on the channel, probably shortly after Nigel's thing at BBC, in case some of you want to watch that. You want to be tortured through the BBC stuff. And of course, Monday, we can now confirm, this coming Monday, 3 days from now, we will be releasing 2CTV Plus's first exclusive and original documentary called Britain's Multiculturalism Myth. And the only way to watch that is by going on 2C.tv and signing up to 2CTV Plus. Ladies and gentlemen, go and check it out. Of course, we'll be releasing some teasers and trailers and previews, so you can actually watch it to see if you like it before you sign up, if you want to. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.